Today in this 2006 Scion TC, we'll be having a look at and showing you how to install the Roadmaster Diode 7-wire to 6-wire Flexo-Coil Wiring Kit. Part number RM-15267. Here's what the diodes look like installed. Now, what this wiring is going to allow you to do is safely and legally flat tow your TC behind your motorhome and give you all the necessary lighting functions that are required by law. You'll have your brake lights, your tail lights, and your turn signals. This will alert motorists behind you that the vehicle is being flat towed, and if you're slowing down or making a lane change, they'll be able to tell that as well. What's great about this kit is that this eliminates the need for us to use magnetic tow lights on our vehicle. Magnetic tow lights, even though they will stick to the side of it, they can move around over rough terrain or high wind conditions, and that can damage the paint underneath it. There's also one more thing you have to worry about storing inside your vehicle. With these, there's no switches that you have to flip whenever you want to tow your vehicle or drive around town normally. Once you unplug from your motorhome, the vehicle is back to its factory condition, and you don't have to do anything. You just drive around normally, you don't have to worry about anything else. The diode pack is a great feature because what this will allow you to do is get power directly from the motorhome to run your vehicle's lights. And that power won't go back into your vehicle's expensive electronic components, causing damage. The diodes will only allow electricity to flow in one direction. On the front of our vehicle, we have our 6-way connector here. And this serves as a connection point for our umbilical that will go in between the TC and our motorhome. The 6-way end will simply go in behind this door here. Line it up, push it in, and the door will hold it in place. The 7-way end will plug into our motorhome and transmit all of the electrical signals of our turn signals, our brake lights, and our running lights into our TC. We do have a nice coil cable here, so as we drive around corners, it'll stretch out as necessary, then spring back, so you don't have to worry about it dragging on the ground, damaging it. For this particular flat tow setup, we use the Roadmaster XL base plate kit with removable arms. We use the Roadmaster Diode 7-wire to 6-wire Flexo-Coil Wiring Kit for our towed vehicle lighting. For our braking system, we use the Blue Ox Patriot 2 portable braking system. We also used a Roadmaster brake light relay kit for towed vehicles. For our tow bar, we used a Roadmaster Falcon all-terrain non-binding tow bar. And for our safety cables, we also use Roadmaster 64-inch single hook straight safety cables. Now, depending upon your application, you may or may not need a high-low adapter, and we have several different options available on the website, and this will help ensure that your tow bar is level between your motorhome and your Scion. Now that we've gone over some features, we'll show you how to get it installed. Now, to begin our install of our towed vehicle diode wiring, we went ahead and took the fascia off at the same time as we did our base plate. You don't have to do this at the same time as you're doing your base plate, but it does help. So we have our 4-pole flat wiring inside the provided wiring loom going through our bracket, which we have attached to our base plate using one of our no drill mounting brackets. This is one of the long ones available on our website. It simply clamps to the base plate. Now the wires go up behind our bumper beam in the wire loom. This way we don't have any colored wires hanging out behind our fascia that we can see. And then it goes underneath our headlight, and then comes into our engine compartment, and we'll route this to the back of the vehicle here later. Now we'll take our 4-pole flat wire here at the front, and we're going to separate our wires so we have 4 individual wires. We'll strip back some insulation from all 4. We'll now take our dust cover and slide the small end first over our wires. And twist our wires together, make sure they're nice and tight. We have no loose strands hanging out. Now we'll start with our ground. That'll go to this terminal marked GD. So we'll loosen that set screw. And we'll take our white wire, which is our ground wire, place it inside there, and we'll tighten that set screw down. Now we'll do our tail lights and marker lights. That goes to terminal marked TM. That'll get our brown wire. Now we'll do our left turn signal and left brake light. That goes to the terminal marked LT. That'll get our yellow wire. Now we'll do our right turn signal and right brake light. Goes to terminal marked RT. And then we'll get our final wire, which is the green wire. And here's what it looks like with all of our connections made. Now we'll take some dielectric grease, which we have available on our website, and we'll just flood the back side of this connector. And this will help prevent any corrosion from occurring, which could cause a poor electrical connection if any moisture was to get inside. Now we'll slide our dust cover back over until it stops on the ridge. We'll slide our wire loom down towards the connector, and we're going to tape the connector and dust cover on together. Slide the loom back on, and then tape the loom to the dust cover. And this will really help protect it from the elements. Now we'll secure a 6-way connector to the bracket on the front of the vehicle using the provided hardware. And we'll go ahead and tighten that hardware down. Now we pulled out all the slack in our diode wiring, and we secured it to this wiring harness going across the top of the bumper beam. Now that we have our connector mounted on the front of the vehicle and the wires connected to that, we opened our rear hatch and we're going to remove our taillights now. We're going to gain access to the hardware that holds our taillight in place by removing this cover right here. We're on the driver's side, the passenger side is the same way. Okay, our connector for our taillight is clipped onto the taillight itself. So if we use a trim panel tool and come behind it, or a flathead screwdriver, we can separate it from the taillight. Okay, with that unclipped, we now have access to our tab that connects our taillight to the vehicle wiring. We can press it on the tab and pull to separate. And here's the tab right here. Okay, we have this wire harness which is clipped onto one of the nuts that holds our taillight assembly in place. We're going to go ahead and remove that. We can just pry it off like that. We have access to our nuts. Now we have 3 10mm nuts just like this one that hold our taillight in place. We'll go ahead and remove those nuts. Make sure you don't want to drop the nuts behind this plastic and fabric panel because it'd be very hard to find them again. That's our third stud that holds our taillight in place right there. It's behind the carpet up at the top, so it's a little hard to see. Same exact fastener as the other two, 10mm nut. Now we found in order to get the taillight assembly all the way out of the vehicle, we're going to have to take off our rear fascia. In order to do this, we'll have one screw at each corner by each one of our taillight assemblies, which we'll remove. And at each one of our wheel wells where our fascia meets the fender, there's a 10mm screw that we have to remove. Now underneath, we're going to have 4 plastic fasteners just like this one here. The way these work, there's a center section that you can pry out with a flathead screwdriver or a trim panel tool. Once you have the center section pulled, you can pull out the entire clip. Now with the next set of hands, we'll grab our fascia where it meets the fender and pull back to separate it. Now we can set our fascia aside where it won't get damaged. We can grab our taillight the rest of the way and just pull it off. Now we'll repeat the same process for the passenger side to get that taillight off as well. Okay, our 4-pole flat wiring, after it comes out behind our headlight on the driver's side, goes alongside our battery, around our fuse box here, around our air box, and then down along the firewall. Here's where our 4-pole flat wiring comes down from the firewall. Now we routed this to the back, making sure we avoided any moving parts or sources of heat, such as the exhaust. We secured it to our fuel line and brake line brackets using a couple of our provided zip ties. Went over our fuel filler neck, secured it to the driver's side of our gas tank using a zip tie, went over our rear sway bar and our rear subframe. Then we stuck it underneath the heat shield for the exhaust. This will protect it from the heat. Comes out here, and this vehicle is equipped with a hitch. Yours may not be. We went over the hitch, and then behind the bumper beam and up. All right, we went ahead and separated all 4 of our wires just like we did at the front. That way we have plenty of length of separate wires to work with. Now, our white wire is our ground. We're gonna cut off the excess, just having us enough that we can attach it to our vehicle sheet metal in this general area right here to serve as our ground point. We'll now strip off some of our insulation from that wire, crimp on our ring terminal, and we'll secure it into place using our self-tapping screw. And that'll give us a nice solid ground. Okay, now we turned our headlights on, and we're going to use a test light on the driver's side to determine which one of our wires on the actual car connector is for the tail light circuit. And it should be this brown wire here down at the end. It is, but we're going to double check the rest of them just in case. The only wire that has power is this brown wire here, and that wire is going to correspond on our plug on the taillight assembly to this green wire right here. It's a solid green wire. So this is the side where we're going to make our connections with on the vehicle's taillight. So we'll take our solid green wire and we'll cut it right in the middle, and we'll strip back insulation from both ends, and we'll crimp on our blue terminals onto each of those wires. Take our diode pack here. The input will go towards our connector and the output will go towards our bulb. Now we'll measure off our brown wire to just inside our taillight housing pocket here, and we'll cut off the excess and hang on to it. We'll strip back the insulation from both of these wires and we'll twist them together. Take our yellow spade terminal, place it onto those wires, and we'll crimp it into place. We'll now plug the yellow spade connector onto our diode pack on the other input side. Now we're looking for our brake light wire. Since our brake light's also the turn signal on a towed vehicle, we can just tap into one of the brake light bulbs for our turn signal and brake light. We don't have to worry about the separate turn signal on this vehicle. So we have someone stepping on the brake pedal right now. It should be this blue wire right here, which corresponds to the top right on our connector here. And it is. We'll double check the other ones just in case. Okay. So that's the only one that has power, so that's the one we know we're going to connect to. And on our assembly, that will correspond to a green wire with a white stripe. So now we'll cut the green wire with the white stripe in the middle. Strip back both ends. And we'll crimp on blue spade terminals to both ends. Take our diode pack. Output side always goes towards the bulb, so we'll plug the connector side of one of the inputs and the output towards the bulb. Now we'll take our yellow wire and measure off inside our taillight pocket how much we need to work with and cut off the excess. Strip back some insulation and we'll crimp on a blue connector. Blue is all we have left at this point. We'll now plug the yellow wire into the other input side of our diode pack. Now these don't matter which ones they go into. You can go to either one of the inputs. So now we'll peel off the double-sided tape backing on our diode packs and we'll stick them inside this recessed gap inside the tail light. And we can just stack them on top of each other. Perfect. Now we'll take our tail light assembly on the driver's side and reinstall it. We made sure to plug our tail light back in as well. And we went ahead and repeated the same process on the passenger side of the vehicle. After testing, we found out that just like on the driver's side, our green wire off of our connector, which corresponds to the brown wire from the vehicle, was our tail light wire. And we found out that our green wire with the white stripe, which corresponds to the blue wire off the vehicle, is our brake light wire. So we cut both those wires in half, stripped back the connections, and crimped on our crimp connectors, and put our diode packs in with our brown wire that we brought over from the driver's side going to our tail light diode, and our green wire, which is our right turn signal and right brake light, going to the brake light wire. Now we'll put our passenger side tail light back into position. All right, with our tail lights reinstalled, we'll reinstall our fascia. Now we'll go ahead and test out our wiring. We have our 6-way cord hooked up to the vehicle and our 7-way hooked up to a tester. If you don't have a tester, you can simply hook up to your motorhome and test it that way. All right, we'll start off by turning on our tail lights. As you can see, our tail light functions working properly here on both sides of the vehicle. Now we'll do our left turn signal. Our left turn signal is working as well. Now we'll try our brake lights. Both of those are working perfectly there. And now we'll do our right turn signal. And as you can see, our right turn signal is working properly as well too. And that'll complete our look at and showing you how to install the Roadmaster Diode 7-wire to 6-wire Flexo-Coil Wiring Kit, part number RM-15267 on this 2006 Scion TC.